Hi friends, welcome to Willinrow Arts. My name is Leslie, and today we're going to make another coffee can diorama. For today's diorama, we are going to make a cozy cottage in a fall forest. So let's get started. To start our project, we need to add lights to our coffee can. If you watched my last coffee can diorama, you know I need to start from the back of the diorama forward because you can't get in from behind. The first part is adding the lights. So we have a little set of fairy lights. I'm going to thread through here. I already added a hole. So now I just need to glue these in just so they're not willy-nilly back here. Now this beginning stage is a trust the process phase. Right now, all I'm trying to do is diffuse the lighting. Also, I'm not going to totally hide my coffee can. I like that you can see the metal bits. I like that you can tell that it's a coffee can. I think it adds to the whimsy. So I'm not planning to fully cover the sides or the outside. I might rust the outside up a bit because I like the idea of rustiness in the autumn. But I do want a light source, so I'm using lights for the back, and then I'm going to diffuse that. Like I said, it's a trust the process phase, so it's going to look just kind of funny at first. Every project has a weird, ugly phase that you're like, what's going on here? Remember back in elementary school, you made tissue paper collages? This reminds me of that. So let me get that part covered, and then I'll show you where we're at. Right now, it just looks like this kind of strange lighting. But if you look at trees, you're going to see like spots of light that are brighter than others. So this is kind of what I'm going for here. I'm going to just add different colors in here. I want more of a yellow, orangey kind of glow. So I'm going to use a little bit of water and glue now and this red and yellow tissue paper. And I'm going to do kind of like a collage. All right, we have our background started. So next we're gonna let this dry. We're gonna work on our cottage. I designed this little house on my computer and then cut it out using my laser cutter. You don't need a laser cutter, you can just cut with scissors, but it's just a quick way to cut things. So we're gonna use a mixture of tacky glue and a little hot glue just to keep things tacked in place. So we have this little part of our house to work with. So I'm going to add the windows. Let's see. What I want to make next is some stucco for the outside surface. I'm going to call it stucco. I don't know if it has another name. Sandstone? Let me know the word if there's a word for it other than stucco. I'm just gonna take some of this play sand and I want the finest bits because I'm gonna use that mixed with paint and glue to make my stucco, and I don't want like the really big rocks in this. I wish I had a little bit of a finer, I don't think I have anything finer to sift the sand through because I think this is not really doing it. We have one of my kids' old socks. Let's see if this do what I'm looking for. It's actually kind of working. It's really getting the fine sand particles out. One of my kiddos is watching. Don't worry. This is not a sock that's going back into your sock drawer. It's an old sock. I'm going to keep it for this purpose. Before we go any further with this cottage, we're going to give this guy a paint job. Just a white base. So I'm taking some of our sand. I'm just going to do a little bit at a time so it doesn't dry out. I'm going to add a little PVA glue, and we're going to add white paint. Mix it in there. Now what we have is some really gritty white paint. Stipple it on. That's why I put the windows on first, because once I put this texture in here, it might be a little tricky to glue the windows into this bumpy surface. So that's basically what we're going to do. Do this to the whole house. So I went and added the first layer of the stucco mixture that needs to harden. Also added the first post on the railing off camera because it was a little willy-nilly. So next, we're gonna let that harden and we can start adding some shingles. I cut out some little shingles out of cardstock. And I'm just gonna take the shingles. I use cardstock because it was nice and thin. We're just gonna start layering in our shingles. So while those shingles dry, I want to work on the porch. I'm going to use some coffee stir sticks. We want a wooded porch, but these planks are too long. So we're just going to trim these planks up. So we have our porch flooring in. And what I really think I want to do is I want to give the porch and the window trim and the front door all like a wooden hue. I want the building to be like a stone building, stucco building, and then I want everything else to be kind of wood. So next, guys, we are gonna make birch trees. I'm gonna use some wire to make my birch trees because I want trees I can bend. So if you're looking to make some birch trees or any type of tree for your miniatures, you could use chopsticks, you could use wooden dowels, you could use Q-tips if you want small trees, you could use branches from outside and turn those into trees. Anything you can find, you can use a straw, pipe cleaners. For my purposes, because I am working inside that can and I want to be able to bend my trees into place, I'm gonna use this wire. My little snippers. So what I'm gonna do is I have my super duper long piece of wire here. I'm gonna just wrap it into loops, loop it up, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna twist the wire. So now we have our twisted wire shape. Add as much wire according to the thickness of the tree you want. You can make giant trees, you can make teeny little trees. And then I like to take my little loopies and snip them, twist those any way you want. So now we have a tree. And then you could paint this and this could just be your spooky tree like I did in the haunted house project. But I want this to look more like a birch tree. I have some toilet paper here. You can use toilet paper, you can use paper towel, any kind of tissue paper you want. I like the toilet paper, or I actually like tissues better, but I'm out of tissues. But I like the toilet paper because I like the thinness of it. So then we're gonna take watered down glue, and then we're gonna take our tissue paper. You can use your hands, or you can use a paintbrush. I rip it up into little pieces, and then you're just gonna cover this. And this is gonna make your bark. If you want to add thickness to certain parts of your tree, you just add more layers of tissue paper. This is kind of fun, really easy to do. Can't mess it up. So trees aren't perfectly smooth. Like I said, you can paint the wires too. It's all depending on what kind of tree you're going for. The wires are great too, because if you want to bend your tree, even after the tissue paper dries, the tree is completely bendable. Tissue paper started, and we're going to let this dry. The next step is to paint your tree. Now, you can actually add paint to your glue mixture and do that in one shot when you're adding the tissue paper on. This tree is a little bit different tree. This tree just has less branches. So this is a tree that's already dry from paint. It's a birch tree, and birch trees kind of have those little black lines on them. To get my black lines, an easy way, you can do this with a paintbrush, but I'm just gonna dip one of these wires in my black paint. And then I'm going to just kind of turn the tree. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to turn the tree and give it some black. So a birch tree the lines are kind of horizontal. So I'm just going to give that look of the stripes. So you can do as little or as much, as thick as you want. So now we have the looks of a birch tree. So we're gonna let that dry. So the next thing I wanna do is I wanna make flocking. You can do this in any order you want. If you wanna have a bunch of flocking made ahead of time, that's awesome. You can buy flocking online, you can buy it at any craft store. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make my flocking myself. This is just a all-purpose sponge. A lot of people use them to wash their cars with. So I have my sponge. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your sponge, and you might wanna wear a mask with this. It does produce little fine particles. It's almost like sandy-like. Be aware of that and wear a mask if you feel like you need to, and have a space that you're gonna make a mess in. I wouldn't do it on the couch. Unless you have a tray or something in front of you, because this is one of those things that you kind of want to binge watch a show and do if you want to make a lot at a time. You're just gonna cut up your sponge. I tried to use a food processor, like an old food processor type of thing, but it didn't work. I'm just gonna take my scissors and I'm just gonna snip chunks. This is why this is a good thing to do when you're watching a show or listen to a podcast or something. Chop it up as small as you want. And once you get your desired amount, you're gonna take a bowl something you don't mind getting ruined. You're gonna take some of your sponge material. You can leave it the color the sponge comes in. That is fine too. But if you want to change your sponge into different colors, then all you do is you take some paint, squirt it in your bowl, and then you stir it. And you just keep stirring it, stirring it. We have beautiful flocking. Get some kind of flat surface tray and some paper towel, newspaper, and then you want to spread your flocking out. Best not to do it in a plastic container because it still will keep its moisture in there. But you just spread your flocking out and you let it dry overnight. So now I have some really pretty pink flocking. I pre-made some red and orange flocking, yellow and orange. This one is yellow and a little brown and gold paint. This is red. I also have some bright yellow flocking. So I've made a ton of this ahead of time. So now I have flocking I can use for many, many different things. You can also use sawdust. I just haven't been working with wood lately, so I don't have a collection of sawdust, and paint that as well. Or you can even use sand and paint that as well, but sand's a little finer. It just depends what you're using the flocking for. I like the sponge because it's light once it dries. Oh, one more. I also made green flocking, and I cut this more kind of strip-like. So if I want to make a pine tree, I might have better little strips or some kind of plant foliage, or it could even be seaweed if you're making like an underwater type of diorama. So now that we have all that flocking made, we're going to make some fall trees. Next, we're going to take our birch tree trunk and we're going to turn it into a fall birch tree. Birch trees are mostly yellows when they change colors, but I'm going to add a little bit of orange in there and golds. So now what we want to do is we want to take our tree and we're going to add the flocking to it. You could use hot glue. What I like to use is fabric tack to get it going. Fabric tack is made from fabric, but it's kind of like cold hot glue. You're going to do this in layers, and this is a process. This is going to take a little bit of time, and you're going to glue your flocking down to the tree. I suggest doing it over something like freezer paper or a plastic surface that doesn't stick, so when you put your tree down to dry, it's not going to stick to the paper. So if you're going to use like PVA glue, it is kind of a longer process, but it will work. All right, so you get your first little layer on. This is just watered down glue. So I'll go in and I'll add my watered down glue, alcohol, and this just kind of helps saturate it. You don't have to do that, but it helps kind of let the glue sink through. Then you're gonna need to let that dry through the magic of television. So here's a tree that I made already. This one's more yellows and oranges. We have a variety of different trees. We have some air drying clay in this bucket. I also have my hot glue gun and my can. So I'm gonna add my trees starting in the back, moving forward. This is just a regular like skewer that I did the same technique to. I'm gonna take some of these and use as filler for the background because I want this to be like a really thick forest of trees. So we need to pause on the trees for a little bit because now I need to add some of the ground layer to the back. So that's where the air drying clay comes into play. You don't need air drying clay. You could use paper mache, anything like that to make your ground layer. Just PVA glue down. This is just so that the clay will stick. All we're gonna do is take this and mush it in the area. So we have our start of our ground layer and our background trees. So now I need to work on the house because I need to get the house in there before I continue to move forward. So let's work on the cottage. But this is just dry brushing. Okay, I like that so much better. Next, we need a chimney using some egg carton. We're gonna let the paint dry on that chimney and then we're gonna start working on the rest of our porch. So we have our cute little porch on. We're gonna go ahead and give that a coat of paint. I have white tissue paper here and I'm gonna put that inside the windows, and that way when the house glows, it'll give off a soft white light. do now is add the house into the diorama. I want to get a feel for it in the place. The major part of it's done, so the rest of it I can work on it while it's placed in the diorama. The house is going to sit about right in this zone, but I'm going to do that off camera because you're not going to see anything because my hands will be in the way. Okay, I have the house set about where I want it. We have some cardboard to raise it fairly level. So now I'm going to work on the land around it, make it secure, add in some more air drying clay. I added some steps in off camera. I'm just going to paint them. I'm kind of sketching out a path. This is just so I won't put trees there. All right, we are getting the vision that I want. Hi friends, it's the next day for me. Everything is dry in here and we're just gonna continue on. So we have a couple more trees in this zone. And the next step is we're gonna add some foliage from back to front again. So what I'm doing now is just adding a mixture of detritus, which is dried leaves from last fall. I have some cut up sponge material and some tall grass. I'm just adding a mixture in the background right now, just to be like the forest floor. So it'll be like bushes, leaves, anything fallen from the trees, you know, different stuff like that. And then we'll just work our way forward. All I'm doing is plopping some PVA glue down, taking a chunk of my little mixture here and plopping it in. And then I just kind of poke and prod until I get it where I want. All right, we're gonna pause on that for a little bit, let that area dry. And next I wanna add some coffee grounds in there. This is just gonna be part of the dirt path that's leading out towards the woods. If you have a coffee can diorama, you need coffee grounds. Added some glue there, and then we're gonna sprinkle our grounds in. So we have the start of our path going 2 different directions. We'll lighten that up with some sand, but I wanted to get the dirt layer in there first. I am going to try to make a miniature wheelbarrow. This is a design I came up with a few years ago in large decorative form. It was like a tabletop design. I will put that up so you can see how that looked. But I'm going to attempt to make it in mini form. So I have all my little pieces cut out. See if I can get this thing together. Oh my goodness, did you guys see that? Hello, friend. Sorry, you're going outside. I'll be back. I set the little guy free outside. Did we have any more? That's, you know, I work in a basement, cobwebs and all. While in the process of making this cute little guy, I realized it's way too big for my diorama, so I'm going with one even smaller. We have a little wagon here. Now I want to make a couple flower baskets. All right, we'll let those little guys dry. So I want to add some more little shrubbery, and I'm going to take one of these sponges. This is the red. We're going to take a little pump of PVA glue, stir it together. All right, we're making a little bush out of this. This is what refer to as a burning bush here. And I just want to add a couple of these burning bushes. I'm going to take a flower basket, add a little bow, painted it like a coppery color. Now I'm going to take some nail caviar. I wanted it to look like a bow with berries hanging from it. Well, no, it's supposed to be berries. So I'm taking little pieces of my sponge colors and I'm gonna make it look like there's some mums in these baskets. Those are perfect fall flowers. I'm adding that teeny little bow I made with the berries on the door and a little copper colored doorknob. Adding some teeny little faux grass. Just some dried flowers just to add a little bit of different colors. This one has some tufts of grass. I'm just making some teeny little mushrooms. Fun detail to add to some of the trees. Simple, like a light beigeish brownish mushroom. I'm just adding a few more touches of little different flowering plants here and there. I added also what kind of reminds me of some cornstalk right in that area. That was my brother's idea. Thank you. And just a few more pops of color to the front yard. I didn't want to hide the house too much, but I think I'm feeling pretty good about this, guys. I think I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna let everything dry, look at it a bit, see if I need any more little touches here and there or anything I need to clean up. And I think that's it. I wanna thank you guys so much for watching. I just hit 5,000 subscribers and I'm super excited about that. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you all. Please like and comment and share. And if you made it this far in the video and you saw our little spider friend, maybe add a little spider emoji in the comments. I think I really want to work on sculpting another witch next. I really kind of want to do a jolly autumn witch, and that's, I think, my plan for my next project. I need to add a new witch to my coven. Thanks again for watching, my friends, and stay tuned for the final photos.